We are in studio, and it's great to see you, Scotty
Great to see
Thurman.
you too, man. Good
The
to see
man, the myth, the legend himself, the great Scotty Thurman, and we're going to get this rolling too for our folks who prefer to listen to this stuff in audio land. YouTube, I'm telling you, more and more stuff coming your way, y'all. Let's continue to remember that as we move forward here in 2025. And Scotty, you're looking great. I mean, obviously, it's a happy birthday to you. Don't tell anybody I said this. The big 5-0 for Big Shot Scotty. How's that feel, man?
Man, it feels good just to be able to witness it actually, in light of, all the things that are going on in the world and to be able to just experience that 50th. I'm pretty excited about it.
Another trip around the sun. You're a pops. You're a grandpa. You're a papa too. Tell me about your family a little bit, Scotty. How they doing?
Doing great, man. Obviously, been married coming up on 23 years to my high school sweetheart.
It's incredible.
Dr. Regina Thurman, and my daughter's here now playing volleyball. She's my youngest, just turned 20 in November. And
Transferred in, right?
transferred in from Carolina.
Yep.
And then my son works at the university in compliance, Scotty Thurman Jr. He and his lovely wife live here in Fayetteville, obviously. And then I've got two grandboys, both Roman, who's 8. Roman, who's 5. Isaiah, that's 8.
That's awesome. Great names.
Yeah.
Great names. Now, you've had an unbelievable career. Obviously, we know you as a Razorback basketball legend, professional basketball player for a long time, and then obviously involved with the Razorbacks beyond. I mean, I remember you doing a great job on the radio there as a color commentator and a student development director and as an assistant coach. And then you made the move to Parkview, and you were a head coach for 5 years.
5 years.
You've stepped aside from that now. Tell me about the coaching experience, Scotty.
Man, it was a good experience, getting the opportunity to connect with young people and try to help them develop both on and off the floor has always been kind of my theme. I try to use a lot of life experiences and things that I've had happen in my life to be able to be transparent and be more than just a coach, but a mentor. But it was just time for me to step away and spend a little bit more time with my family, my two grandboys who I just mentioned, my son as well, and my daughter, being able to go and support her while she plays volleyball here at the U of A. And so it's kind of hard to juggle all those things and being in more than one place at a time. And so my wife and I just kind of prioritize the things that are important to us, because my wife's, I won't say her age, she's a little bit older than I am.
Okay.
And so we're just trying to make sure that we enjoy some of the things that, we've been blessed with, and not put all of our focus on doing something for someone else all the time. We want to be able to give back, but sometimes you spend so much time being away that you're not really at home able to do some of the things that you should be doing. And so we're trying to do that.
You're a businessman as well. I mean, real estate, you've been involved in that for a long time, still doing that to this day.
Right.
How much do you enjoy that part of your life?
I really enjoy it because it's another way of helping someone. A lot of people have, dreams about being able to purchase their first home or even their second home or their dream home. And so, I invest in the real estate market. Sometimes it starts off in the process of being abandoned, and sometimes it may be a foreclosure, it may be new construction. And so I just kind of dibble and dabble in all facets and try to provide the homeowner with a unique experience, but also give them a good product.
You do an incredible job remodeling from what I hear. I mean, even before he got over here today, he's working on one. So,
Right.
I mean, by the time you're done with it, that's a pretty great feeling that the house that you're going to sell is going to be a house people can really call a home, right, Scotty?
Right. Yeah. We try to go in and make significant upgrades. Like I said, if it's not new construction from the ground up, then we'll go in and try to, whether that's retrofit a shower or tub or what have you. But we want to make it to where a person will be able to be comfortable with their family going into the property.
Well, you're looking good. You're sounding good. Obviously, a 30-year anniversary coming up of those back-to-back national championship teams. Seems like every time we turn around, it's an anniversary of some kind or another. But, I mean, 3 decades since y'all took not only Razorback fans, but the college basketball world by storm. I bet in some ways it feels like Scotty. In other ways, there's no way it feels like 30, right?
It definitely does not feel like 30. There are some mornings when I wake up and take a couple of steps where I can envision it being 30, but for the most part, I mean, time flies, it doesn't wait for anyone. But, we always love March Madness and just the college season in itself when people talk about, kind of what we meant to them and brag about our teams. And so, oftentimes, I get together with my teammates or certain guys on that team based on where we are. And, we talk about it, chat it up a little bit about, our good old days and kind of compare our teams to some of the teams today. And even this Razorback team, we're always comparing that team, whoever's on that team, to our teams. And so it's kind of fun just to be able to reflect and think back on what we possibly could have done or would be doing. And all
Or
those type of
did,
things.
or just plain did.
Or did.
Y'all are still. I mean, everybody from those teams still alive, right? They've all hung. I mean, that says something.
Says a lot.
Y'all take care of each other. You look out for each other, and you're kind of. I mean, I said this when we went out to lunch last week. You're kind of the social nexus guy.
Right.
You're like the connector for those teams, right?
Right. Well, somewhat. I mean,
Somewhat.
a lot of people come to me, if they're looking to try to get in contact with whether it's Corliss or Corey or Clint or whoever, because I try to stay in contact with all those guys. We created so many memories, and we were close. A lot of people think about the games and the practice, but they forget about the just everyday life, dorm life, eating together, having a roommate, whether you're off campus, on campus. And that was one of the things that I really felt like made our team really, really special, is that we spent a lot of time together. We were never really separate. There weren't really many cliques. It was always 8, 9, 10 guys at times together at the same places. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of distractions that these guys have now with the social media and the way this area has really blossomed and grown. Some of the establishments, we didn't have opportunity to frequent those. And so it's a little bit different influence.
Helped to keep a lower key maybe back then. But when you say 8 and 9, 10 of y'all, probably still pretty rare that you guys are all together in the same space at the same time. It's a lot of people.
It's very rare that we're all together, but there have been times like Dwight had his 50th a couple of years ago, and there was like 6 of us there. We were just honored at a celebration in last June in Little Rock, and 6 of us were there.
Good.
So there's always times where there's pockets of us, 3 to 6 to 8. It's been a while since we've had that number 10, but around the Razorback event, I think the football game we had here recently had a lot of those guys here. So there are definitely times where there's multiples, and sometimes it's not just the guys I played with; it's the guys that played here before I did.
And you guys get along with all them.
Right.
You're part of the same tradition, same culture. You and Corliss have stayed tremendously close throughout the years, right? You still follow his coaching career a little bit.
Still follow his coaching career. I've just celebrated his 51st birthday with him. I went out to L.A. and watched. He's coaching with the Timberwolves. Got the opportunity to watch him coach against the Clippers. And so got a chance to see that amazing arena that they have now there in L.A. in Inglewood, and it's top notch.
Sweet. I haven't been to one in there, but I've walked around that patio. I mean, that is an event. Every time they have a game, you feel like you're there whether you're in it or not. How's he liking being a coach in the NBA these days?
He's really liking it, especially with the success that they had last year. And I think a lot of people forget, he's done that for quite some time. He had the opportunity to coach in Sacramento, Phoenix, Orlando, took some time off to spend with his kids and got back into it. But now with the Timberwolves, and this is his second season.
It's awesome. So we're talking with Scotty Thurman, one of the most famous Arkansas Razorback basketball players of all time. You want to call him Big Shot Scotty? He's okay with that. The Rustin Rifle, he gave me a bunch of other nicknames y'all have probably never heard of before. But we're talking about how, around here, you're one of those guys who you walk in a room and people look at you, right? They're like, I know this guy. Where? Oh, that's right. He was part of those great teams. And the love for those teams continues to this day. I would argue, kind of like we did off the air a little, that it's stronger now because it's a time and place, and we're going to do some more on this, obviously, with me, Scotty, but it's a time and place in the world of college athletics that just does not exist anymore. The whole NIL and the portal and the paying the players, it's changed so much. What do you make of where we are 30 years later?
Well, we're definitely in a different space. I mean, obviously with the NIL and now the revenue sharing, and I think they're even giving out academic money. I could use some of that.
Just a little.
Just a little, especially when I was a student.
Right?
But it's definitely changed. I think, there's a lack of familiarity, for lack of a better word, with today's roster, the roster before, because guys always leave. And I think that's one of the reasons why people kind of cling to the 94 team, and even some of the 95 team members that weren't here in 94. And if you go back to Todd Day and Lee Mayberry in that group, because they feel like they got to connect to us, because most of those guys were here 4, I was here 3. And so you get a little bit more time spent, a little bit more time observing. You get to know them, from whether that's going to church, whether that's sending them in the grocery store.
Yep.
And now guys are here for really the basketball season, and then you don't really see them anymore. So I think it's really changed in that aspect. And just watching the game, like, for example, I was at a football game at a local establishment here, and there was a current Razorback player there. And we were watching the football game. It's when the Razorbacks were playing A&M.
Okay.
And so the restaurant was packed.
Yep.
And I just wanted to just observe, and I'm just watching the young man, And I'm just thinking, like, no one knows who he is. Like, that's amazing to me. But yet, I go to the restroom and I hear someone say, hey,
Right.
that's Scotty Thurman. I'm like,
Right.
well, that was years ago.
Because
You
they
got
feel
this
like they know you.
Right, right. And so
Right.
that was just another example of that.
That's a special thing too, and not just in Razorback land, though. I think we know how hallowed the athletes are here that we root for. You guys are walking legends, but really around the country, like you said, people used to feel more of a connect after
Right.
2, 3, 4 years of somebody being a part of their local community. And now, not to make it all about football, Scotty, but you look up and it seems like every time you turn around, a guy's leaving or coming back. Some of these players, and I'm not criticizing because coaches have done it too.
Right.
They will play for 3, 4 schools over a 5-year period.
Right.
And that's just, it's a lot more professional in approach than it used to be. And I think that's a turnoff for the average fan a little bit.
It's definitely a lot more professional. I don't know what they could do, but it definitely, in my opinion, should be something done in terms of 5, 6 opportunities to play. I mean, it used to be you got 5 years to play 4. Now you got guys, obviously if there was a medical waiver or some type of hardship, but now it's just like the normal. Guys get to just leave and never have to visit with the coach. Teammates never see him again and they're just out.
Just out.
And I think a lot of it is, you got people dingling the carrot over guys' head in terms of what they're going to give them. All of it's not contractual, even though the average fan doesn't understand that. There is some contractual, but some of it's verbal. And that's why you see guys leaving too, because promises are being made versus it being documented. This is what's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, you got some type of ramification. But now it's a lot of, well, I'm going to give you this, and then you get here, you don't have 2 good games. We're going to cut it back now, and like the kid that I think it was UNLV.
That's what I was thinking of.
And so there's a lot of that going around the country. And I just think it needs to be something in place for that.
The NCAA doesn't get a lot of respect anymore. Can we start some sort of new charter board? Former athletes maybe be a part of it. Something. You get some different representation, a little more management.
Yeah, I think it needs to be some type of conversation with whoever that panel or that group of people will be, because I think a lot of times there are committees that are set, but there's still the decision makers who really don't listen to the committee. And so then the committee becomes to the point where they get frustrated.
Obsolete or whatever.
And so now it's just kind of a meeting time, but we're not really working to accomplish anything. And I think that's a good idea to have some type of advisory board.
Yeah, something.
I mean, even to current student athletes and maybe, another group that's a little bit older to be able to bridge the gap and be able to go to the administration with it.
Scotty, what do you make of John Calipari being the head coach of the Razorbacks now? This guy, and we're talking off the air, a little bit ahead of his times in terms of one and dones.
Right.
Now he's the Arkansas guy, and it feels like these are the times. Are Hawk fans like waiting to see them win more games? It feels like that there was that buzz initially, and then things have gotten a little bit quiet in Razorback land.
Yeah, I've been kind of shocked at that too. I thought that the buzz was definitely where it needed to be when he first arrived. Still a little bit odd for me. Seeing Coach in Razorback colors and not having on the Kentucky blue or even the UMass colors for that matter, Memphis. But I was excited to see him come. I was excited to see the fans being excited about him being here. I just wish it would translate into people going to the stands. And I think I could probably be of assistance in that manner because I need to be in the stands too, in order to be a real fan. And so I think it's important for former guys like myself to come back around and show them face. And then it's also important for the fans that have purchased tickets to come and show. And if not, hey, give them away. Because there are a lot of people that have never gone. And that was one thing that I did while I worked at the university. I would find people that if I had extra tickets, I want you to use them. I don't want to give them to you if you're not going to use them, but if you're going to use them, I'm going to give them to you. And I think that's important.
I think so too. Hopefully that gets going as we get into conference play here a little bit better. What do you make of your basketball palace, the arena that y'all got built 30 years on now? Do you think we talk sometimes about maybe it needing some upgrades. Do you think it does? Could you do some stuff there?
I think it definitely needs some upgrades. I know it'd probably be very expensive, but I think it needs to happen. I think with attendance being the way that it's been, I think it's important to maybe retrofit it to a certain degree to where it doesn't have to be 19, 20,000.
Right.
That would be an advantage still, but if you're not getting that many, to me, you may as well go ahead and reduce it some and then turn some of those suites into upgrades as well, new floors and those types of things. And so I think it does need to be. I don't know to what extent they're willing to go, but I think it definitely needs to happen.
Some concession work. maybe the bathrooms a little bit. And I'm with you. I love that arena. You got to play in it and do your thing. And I've just gone to games there, but it's such an awesome basketball place. I think we're just talking about everything needs a touch up every few decades. How's your coach doing? How's Nolan doing? I know he lost his wife Rose recently. How's he doing?
I think he's up and down, as anyone would probably be in that situation. I didn't get an opportunity to see him this time, but I plan to get a chance to see him, either during the holidays or sometime between Christmas and the New Year, and spend a few hours with him, visiting and checking on him, making sure that. You know how it is when you lose someone, having been in that situation, everybody's there for the funeral and all the proceedings after in terms of whether that's eating together, fellowshipping, praying, what have you, and then everybody goes back to normal life, and the person who's stuck with that is him. And so, I think it's important that we continue to keep him in our prayers, and the people that have relationships with him continue to maintain those.
He still stays pretty tuned into the Hawks, right?
For sure.
Still watches them a ton.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter this morning. He was at a high school game, last night. So he's staying active in the game, and coach is always going to try to find the gym. He's a gym rat.
He's a gym rat. Does he still play golf?
The last time I talked to him, he said he still played in every day that ended in a Y.
That's interesting. So he still plays a lot.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And he's like you. He's tall and skinny forever, huh? That's just the way it goes. So 30 years later, as we start to wrap this up a little bit, national championship, 2 straight years. You won one, you lose the next one. You went up against Duke and UCLA, 2 elite programs. That shows you how hallowed Razorback basketball was for a while. Are we going to get back there again? Do you think we're coming back there with Cal, Scotty?
I think so. I'd like to hope so. I would like to believe that, it's going to take a little time. I'm not the average fan that hadn't had the opportunity to play it. And so I do understand it's not as easy as people would think. I think a lot of people just assume that talent gets assembled and he sprinkles it. And
right, it just happens.
Right, I think there's a lot of cohesion. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of skill work. There's a lot of conditioning and everything that plays a part into it. But then more importantly, the relationship between the players, and the staff, I think is what's going to be shown on display on the floor. And I think with all those guys getting here at a time where we didn't have anybody, I think you got to be realistic if you put the calendar. If you just look at the calendar and see he really hadn't had this team that long.
No.
You got to factor in breaks. You got to factor in times when he couldn't touch them versus times that he can. And so you got to factor in all
takes
those
time.
things. Injuries.
There's
a lot of things. And so I think it takes time, but hey, we'll get a chance to see here in the next couple of weeks going into conference. That'll tell us a lot because the SEC's loaded.
How has that happened? I mean, it hadn't been this good since you played.
Man.
Like, maybe not since then.
Yeah. I don't know that this early, traditionally to me in the SEC, there's always a couple of dark horses that are wound up playing well down the stretch of the season. You'd be, not really realizing, okay, I didn't realize they had this guy or that guy. But this is the first time in a while that I can remember that, if you look at the top 7, 8 teams, it's going to be a war, I would think.
They can all win.
They can all win. I've seen probably 6 of them play a couple of games. And I'm really intrigued with just the talent level overall in the league. And so I'm anxious to see where we stand.
Boogie, DJ, Adu Thiero, Jonas Adu back now. Obviously, Brazil's still here. Big Z, they're trying to work in Carter Knox. Maybe he's a little more of a long-term guy, but that's not a bad 7-8 man core if they can get it all to gel together. We'll see. They don't really have a lot of shooters.
Right. It's not a bad 7-8 man core provided no one gets injured.
Well, yeah a little thin.
Right.
A little thin.
All it takes is an ankle tweak or something like that. And so I think that, we got some top-heavy talent, and then it gets thin, kind of at the bottom. So I think it's going to be important for someone. There's got to be 1 or 2 guys sitting over there that we haven't had the opportunity to really see that may have to spell someone in the game and give us some good minutes. I think if you just have to play 7 versus 9 and 10 every night, it's going to be a tough battle. Your 7 better be really, really good.
Whenever I see you at Bud Walton, you are constantly in a crowd of people. You're like an emissary, an ambassador. Scotty's just waving because everybody wants a piece of you. You guys are royalty for all times. How's it feel being a superstar? It must feel good.
It feels good. I guess I don't consider myself a superstar, but I do, appreciate the platform. I do appreciate the fact that people recognize, me for something good. It could always be the other way. And so I consider it a blessing, and I consider it, something that I work for, and so I can't really run from it. Plus, I also realized that a lot of these people that are still coming to these games were people that were sitting in the stands when I was playing. And so either them or maybe it's a younger family member now that received the tickets through being passed down or what have you. So I feel obligated to make sure that I make everyone feel how they made me feel when I played. And so I welcome it. There are times where, you just want to watch the game. And most of the time they do let me watch the game. It's when there's a break or if there's some time, they're going to want to talk. And so I just take it all in stride.
I love having you here. I appreciate your time. It's invaluable. We'll share this certainly with our listeners and our viewers here soon. Probably get this out there tomorrow, Scotty. One of the things I did want to ask, and we're going to do more of this in the future. You're my guy. I'd really like to show this play to you and just have you describe this play, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to pull this up. We're going back. It was a tie game.
Tie game.
I've known Scotty for like 15 years. I wanted to do this for a long time. I'm embarrassing him right now. So here we go. Y'all know the moment. 70-70. National championship. Here we go. Here we go. All right, we're going to go right to it. It's Arkansas and Duke. We're headed down the stretch here.
Oh, you already had it.
It's a battle.
You got it
65-65. When's the last? Oh, there's Corliss down low for the go-ahead bucket. When's the last time you watched the whole game?
Last time I watched the game was about 3 years ago when Steve Sullivan asked Corliss and I to watch it and talk about it.
So you already got a whole breakdown with Stevie Boy.
Yeah, got a whole breakdown.
That's amazing. Corliss was so tough.
Oh, yeah. Once he gets it that close, it's a basket every time.
Do you have a copy of this at home, yeah?
Yeah.
You can watch it anytime you want. How about that Duke team y'all beat?
That was a good team, man. They had Grant Hill, obviously. They had Big Eric Meek, who was at Cherokee Parks.
Yeah.
Jeff Capel, Chris Collins.
Here we
so
go.
That's the play.
There's Scotty with the money ball.
Now, you know what's funny about that? So if you look at that picture, if you pause that, if you look.
Go back one more time.
Like if you go back and look at.
Do we need to go further back in that play?
Yeah, in the actual play.
I'm going to go into the play. That's what we're going to do. Tell me what you're telling me here, and I'll pull up the other version of the play we got. So what happens here,
So
Scotty?
I want you to see, like, if you
the
look
ball movement.
Right. Corey was trying to throw the ball into Corliss.
Scotty Thurman shot. When you type Scotty Thurman shot, it is just all over the internet now. Here we go.
So if you pause that. He's trying to go there.
Pause it here?
Yeah.
Let's pause it.
So he's going.
Corliss
That's where he's trying to go.
has the ball over here. He's trying to get on the blocks to give you all a lead with 50
so
seconds left.
Really trying to throw it in there to him. But if you look, who's standing there? So he can't really throw it comfortably. And he's got somebody on him. So he's going to actually drive.
Duke is fronting the heck out of y'all on that play, aren't they?
Yep. And if I think Clint's going to cut, Dwight's going to come up. And then I move up.
And then you move up.
Yep.
And they kind of lose you in the crowd here. So let's do this here as we just send it into motion. I love that out of you, Scotty.
And so
here's Corey looking.
Clint comes through, Dwight goes up. I ran under, and he lost it for that second. And then by the time he found me, I was already
Oh,
shooting.
Scotty.
So what's crazy about
Game is not over yet.
No, it's not over. But I mean, it's over because if you look at this guy on the ball, he's not going to let him get anywhere.
Corey was like, this game is over.
Yeah, that's Clint guarding.
Oh, that was Clint who locked the ball up coming down the floor.
Nobody celebrated. Nobody likes.
I love that you say that too. Nobody on that play celebrates.
Nobody,
They're all literally
the guys
just
that were watching on the bench were celebrating.
Right.
The guys on the floor just jumped right back.
We're trying to win the game here.
Trying to win the game.
And then Clint locked him down, and that's
we just come from 10 down.
Yo.
So, I mean.
Did you ever think you might lose that game? Was that ever a thought? No way, dude.
No. And it's so crazy because we used to always practice. Coach Risson was really big on doing segments, and so we would practice 3-minute periods, 4-minute periods, 5-minute periods, because in his eyes, he always felt like we were going to go on a run, no matter what defense we were in, whether it was half court, full court. And so when he called the timeout, we were down 10. He looked up at the clock. He asked me and Corey, like, hey, what defense you guys want to play? We were like, because we got to pick them up.
We got to pick them
up. Let's pick them up then. And so we picked them up. And that's one thing he was great about, was allowing us to give some input and then giving us an opportunity to show him that we could do it first before he changed it.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. That's such a great angle out of you. People always talk about Nolan and it was his way or the highway. Right. When he believed in you and he trusted you, you got a say in what the team was doing. That's deep, Scotty. That's deep. Let me let you get out of here. Thank you for letting me show that play to you and go through it with you. And this is the great Scotty Thurman. You all know him so well. Awfully kind to come hang out in our bunker studio today. Not too bad, right?
Not too bad, man. I really like the setup.
We're off
man.
and
This is
running.
unique.
More to come for sure. Thank you for the time today,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Thank you.
We're going to wrap it for now. We'll see you all again real soon. Appreciate you very much.